The morning arrived cold and clear, the kind of October day that promised winter's approach with every breath. James stood at the window of the repaired soddy, watching frost melt from the grass as the sun climbed higher. His wound still pulled when he moved too quickly, but the pain had dulled to a manageable ache. He'd learned to work around it. Behind him, Eleanor prepared breakfast while Sarah helped Thomas with his arithmetic at the table. The normalcy felt fragile, like thin ice over deep water. They'd survived Hartwell and his killers, buried Henry Blackburn's memory with determination to finish what he'd started, and begun preparing for winter. But the consortium remained out there, powerful men in Toronto who viewed the Mackenzie family as an obstacle to be removed. The sound of hoofbeats pulled James from his thoughts. "Rider coming," he said, reaching for the rifle that now lived beside the door. Eleanor moved to the window, her hand finding Sarah's shoulder. They'd all learned to be watchful, to treat every unexpected visitor as potential threat until proven otherwise. The rider wore a dark suit beneath a wool coat, too fine for a homesteader, too formal for most travelers. As he drew closer, James recognized him. Marcus Webb, a clerk from the Medicine Hat Bank. The young man's face looked pinched with cold and something else. Discomfort, perhaps, or embarrassment. James opened the door as Webb dismounted. "Mr. Mackenzie," Webb said, his breath fogging in the cold air. "I apologize for the early call." "Come in," James said, though his instincts were already warning him this visit brought nothing good. "Warm yourself." Webb stepped inside, removing his hat. He nodded to Eleanor and Sarah, offered Thomas a brief smile that didn't reach his eyes. His fingers worked the brim of his hat nervously. "Coffee?" Eleanor asked, her voice carefully neutral. "Thank you, no. I can't stay long." Webb reached into his coat and withdrew an envelope. "Mr. Mackenzie, I've been instructed to deliver this personally and ensure you understand its contents." James took the envelope, feeling the weight of expensive paper. He broke the seal and unfolded the letter, Eleanor moving to read over his shoulder. The words were formal, carefully worded, but their meaning cut like a blade. "Dear Mr. Mackenzie, this letter serves as formal notice that the grace period extended to your account following recent extraordinary circumstances has now expired. The remaining balance of $200 on your homestead loan is hereby called due in full. Payment must be received at our Medicine Hat office no later than November 15, 1884. Failure to satisfy this obligation will result in immediate foreclosure proceedings as outlined in your original loan agreement. We understand these have been difficult times, but the bank's board of directors has determined that further extensions cannot be granted. We trust you will make arrangements to satisfy this debt promptly. Respectfully, Cornelius Webb, Bank Manager." James read it twice, feeling Eleanor's hand tighten on his shoulder. Sarah had risen from the table, her face pale. "November 15th, James said quietly. "That's 6 weeks." "Yes, sir." Webb shifted uncomfortably. "I'm sorry. The board met yesterday and voted to call in all outstanding debts. There's been pressure from—" He stopped, seeming to catch himself. "The decision came from above Mr. Webb's authority." "From Toronto?" Sarah asked, her voice sharp. Webb's eyes widened slightly. "I couldn't say, miss, but there have been inquiries about your property, about the mining claim." He looked at James. "I probably shouldn't tell you this, but you've been fair with us. Someone's been asking questions. Someone with money and influence. The consortium, of course. They couldn't kill the Mackenzies outright anymore. Too much attention, too many witnesses. But they could use their financial power to accomplish the same end. Force foreclosure, buy the property at auction, claim the mine legally." "Thank you for the warning," James said, "and for riding out personally." Webb nodded, clearly relieved to be leaving. "I hope you find a way, Mr. Mackenzie, truly." He glanced at Sarah. "What you folks did, standing up to Hartwell and his men, people are talking about it. You deserve better than to lose everything now." After Webb left, the family stood in silence. Thomas looked between his parents and sister, sensing the tension, but not understanding its source. "Can we pay it?" Eleanor asked finally. James shook his head. "We have $43. The harvest brought in enough to see us through winter, but not enough to pay the bank and buy supplies we'll need." "We could sell some livestock," Eleanor suggested, but her tone suggested she already knew it wouldn't be enough. The cattle would bring maybe $60 if we found a buyer quickly. The chickens, another 10. We'd still be short, and we'd have nothing left to work with come spring. Sarah had been quiet, staring at the letter in her father's hand. Now she looked up, her expression thoughtful. "The mine," she said. James met her eyes. "What about it?" "We own it. We have the legal claim, properly filed and documented. The second shaft has silver. We've seen it. What if we extracted enough to pay the debt?" "Sarah," Eleanor said gently, "we don't have mining equipment. We don't have the expertise to." "We have picks and shovels," Sarah interrupted. "We have rope and buckets. The silver in that shaft isn't buried deep. It's in the walls, visible ore that can be chipped out without complex equipment." She turned to James. "You worked in a quarry in Ontario before we came west. You know stone. You know how to break it." James felt something stir in his chest. Not quite hope, but close. "It's dangerous work. The shaft isn't properly shored. The air down there is bad after a few hours." "But possible?" Sarah pressed. He thought about it, running through what he'd seen during their exploration of the mine. The silver vein in the second shaft ran through quartz, visible as dark streaks in the white stone. Rich ore, easy to identify. A man with experience could chip it out, fill buckets, haul it to the surface. "Possible," he admitted, "but difficult. And we'd need to get the ore to an assayer, have it refined enough to sell. That takes time and money we don't have." "Daniel mentioned his father knows a man in Fort Benton," Sarah said. "A prospector who retired there. He has a small smelter, does assaying and refining for miners who don't want to deal with the big companies." "Fort Benton is 3 days' ride," Eleanor said, "in good weather." 4 days there and back, Sarah agreed. "Which means we'd need to extract the silver and have it ready to transport within 3 weeks. That leaves time for the refining and sale and getting the money back here before the deadline." James looked at his wife, saw his own thoughts reflected in her face. It was a desperate plan, built on assumptions and hope. But it was a plan. "How much silver would we need?" Eleanor asked. James did the calculation in his head. "Silver's trading around $1.20 an ounce. But raw ore isn't pure. There's waste rock, impurities. If we're lucky and the ore runs rich, maybe 1 part silver to 3 parts rock. So we'd need," he paused, working through the numbers, "roughly 500 pounds of ore to yield enough pure silver to cover the debt and the refining costs." 500 pounds, Sarah repeated. "How long would that take?" "Working alone? 2 weeks, maybe more. The ore has to be chipped carefully to avoid cave-ins. Each bucket holds maybe 40 pounds. That's 13 buckets a day, hauled up from 60 feet down." James felt his wound pull at the thought. "It's hard labor." "Then we all work," Sarah said. "We take shifts. You and I chip the ore. Mother and Thomas haul it up and sort it. We work from dawn until dark." Eleanor opened her mouth, clearly ready to object to the danger, but Sarah cut her off. "Mother, if we don't do this, we lose everything. The homestead, the mine, everything we've fought for. The consortium wins by default, and we're back where we started 3 years ago. Except this time, we have nowhere to go." The truth of it hung in the air. They'd survived violence, betrayal, siege, and attempted murder. Losing to a bank foreclosure would make all that suffering meaningless. "We'd need to tell Daniel and Samuel," James said slowly, "in case something goes wrong. Someone should know where we are and what we're doing. And we'd need to keep it quiet otherwise," Eleanor added. "If word spreads that we're extracting silver, we'll have claim jumpers and thieves to deal with on top of everything else." Sarah nodded. "We tell the Thorntons we're working on the mine, but not how much or exactly where. We don't discuss it in town. We act like we're still struggling, still worried about the debt." "Because we are worried," James said. "This plan could fail in a dozen ways. The ore might not be as rich as we think. The assayer might cheat us. Winter weather could trap us before we can get to Fort Benton and back." "But it's our only chance," Sarah said quietly. James looked at his daughter, this young woman who'd grown so much in the past months. She'd faced killers, laid traps, made impossible decisions. She'd saved their lives more than once. And now she was proposing they bet everything on their ability to do brutal physical labor against an impossible deadline. He felt a surge of pride mixed with fear. "We start tomorrow," he said. "Today we gather what we need: rope, buckets, tools. We check the shaft, Make sure it's as stable as we remember. We plan the work in shifts so no one's down there too long. Eleanor moved to the stove, her movements sharp with determination. I'll pack food we can eat cold. We'll need water, blankets in case someone has to rest between shifts. I can help sort the ore, Thomas said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. I'm not big enough to chip rock or go down in the shaft, but I can sort. I can tell silver from regular stone. It's the dark streaks in the white, right? James felt his throat tighten, his son offering to help save their home. Right, Thomas, the dark streaks. That's good thinking. The rest of the morning passed in preparation. James and Sarah rode to the Thornton homestead to explain the situation. Daniel immediately volunteered to help, but James shook his head. If this goes wrong, if the shaft collapses or someone gets hurt, I don't want to take you down with us. You and your father have your own homestead to worry about. But if we don't come back by dark each day, come looking for us. Samuel Thornton gripped James's shoulder. You're sure about this? No, James admitted, but we're out of choices. That afternoon, they rode to the mine site. The second shaft sat in its hidden coulee, concealed by brush and careful arrangement of stones. They disguised it after Hartwell's capture, not wanting casual travelers to stumble across their fortune. James descended first, testing the rope and examining the shaft walls by lamplight. The silver vein ran through the quartz about 20 feet down, a dark streak that widened as it descended. Rich ore, visible and accessible. But the walls showed cracks, places where water had seeped through and frozen, expanding the stone. The whole shaft felt precarious, like it was holding its breath. He climbed back up and found his family waiting. It's dangerous, he said bluntly. The walls aren't stable. We'll need to work carefully, take small amounts at a time. No sudden impacts, no heavy hammering. But possible? Eleanor asked. Possible, James agreed. If we're careful. If we're lucky. Sarah looked at the mine shaft, then at her parents. Then we start at dawn. We work until we have enough, and we save our home. That night, James lay beside Eleanor in their bed, listening to the wind pick up outside. His wound ached, a reminder of how close he'd come to dying, how close they'd all come to losing everything. Are we being foolish? Eleanor whispered in the darkness. Probably, James admitted. But what's the alternative? Watch them take everything we've built. The consortium might be behind this, forcing the bank to call the loan. I know. Then even if we pay it, they'll find another way, another angle. James rolled to face her, though he could barely see her in the darkness. Maybe, but if we pay this debt, we buy time. Time for Thomas Garrett to arrive and continue Blackburn's investigation. Time to build a stronger case. Time to find allies with enough power to stand against them. And if we can't extract enough silver, then we lose, James said simply. But at least we'll lose fighting, not sitting here waiting for them to take it all. Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Then, Sarah's changed so much. Sometimes I look at her and barely recognize the girl who arrived here 3 years ago. She's stronger than either of us, James said. Braver, too. She's had to be. They lay in silence, listening to the wind. Somewhere out there, the mine waited. 500 pounds of ore, chipped from stone 60 feet underground. Their fortune and their salvation if they could reach it. If the shaft didn't collapse. If winter didn't come early. If the consortium didn't find another way to destroy them. If. James closed his eyes and thought about dawn, about descending into darkness with a lamp and a pick, about betting everything they had on silver hidden in stone. It was a gamble. A desperate, dangerous gamble. But it was the only hand they had left to play.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.